Greetings and welcome to the Zord Planetary Space Program, episode 7. Today is the big day. Today is when all the preparations we have done so far start to finally pay off. Today we are launching the first wave of ships to Jool. And inconveniently enough, the first ship I want to launch, the first two, are the center ones. I want to launch the big fuel tanker first, and it's the ship that everything else is connected to. And I want to launch the hub, which is the only thing which is not connected to that ship. So I have to take the entire station apart, beta station, and put it back together again, because it's gonna be a couple of hours before the other ships launch, and they're gonna drift away if you don't redock them. And yeah, this wasn't easy the first time, so I cut away a bit of footage here because it's boring. But that's our first ship docked, and the second one is coming in, and we're doing the usual off-center docking on the side, which is always a little bit tricky, but never very hard. It looks pretty awesome with these big, massive ships dancing around in slow motion, and this docking wasn't clean, so the ship starts to turn around from the magnetism, and try to stabilize it by disabling the SAS systems on both ships, letting them come to rest. But that doesn't seem to work very well, so I go in and manually adjust it with the RCS system, and it works. Good. Now we only have to dock two crafts that are going away together. So this isn't hard. These ships are pretty well balanced, so just fly them over there and dock it. Now you notice this craft has engines on both ends. We're obviously only going to use the nuclear ones, but I'm going to keep the Poodle engine because we'll see later. So now it's time to plan our maneuver out to Jool, and to help us with this we have the maneuver node mod thing, which lets me input numbers and adjust the input with buttons. It's really convenient. So you see here, just planning this maneuver, we're going to exit Minmus, fall towards Kerbin, and when we are somewhat close to periapsis, we're going to do another burn and get us out to Jool. This is the entire reason we went to Minmus in the first place, because now that we're falling from Minmus, the burn we have to do at Kerbin periapsis to extend our orbit out to Jool is very much smaller than the 5,000 meters per second you have to do if you're just in low Kerbin orbit. This means that we will have more fuel left when we get to Jool, which is the entire point with this. So now we're doing the escape from Minmus burn, which is only a couple of hundred meters per second. It's almost negligible in this context. Correction burns can be bigger than this. And you see the node holds, and there's quite a lot of time until we need to do anything else with that ship. So I'm going to launch the second ship in the meantime. And we want to get away from the station because there's still a lot of parts here, and it's slowing the game down. So we just burn away from it, and then when we have done our burn, we input the numbers into the node, and we plan it. Do all the planning, which is boring, so I cut it away. And then I time warp with the first ship until we have a Minmus escape, and sit and wait to let the game do its calculations properly. We really want it to preserve the orbits as closely as possible to what we saw earlier, and that's why I'm sitting waiting with no time acceleration for 30 seconds or so before we switch sphere of influence, to keep this precision, because the precision determines when you get to Jool, and these things should arrive in sequential order exactly as planned. Now here's a smart thing I figured out we should do. I separate the lander and companion tank, or what we're gonna call it, and rotate it 45 degrees, and then we redock it to our small tanker. This is because when we do this, we get the two nuclear engines on the lander away from the fuel tanks on the tanker, meaning we can burn them without cooking anything on the tanker, which gives us a high thrust to weight ratio, and it doesn't waste more fuel because they're all nukes. It just makes the burns a little less tedious. So we have done our Minmus escape burn with the second craft, and that means it's time to undock our third and final craft for the first wave. Last one out is the Swordfish craft, the Tylo lander, together with its interplanetary, except not really, transport stage. The transport stage is designed to carry the craft from the station on Jool to Tylo. It's not designed to do interplanetary travel, but it's going to have to do it anyway, and it's going to succeed in doing it anyway because of two reasons. First, we are doing the fall from Minmus maneuver, so we're gonna need a lot less delta V. And secondly, we're just gonna steal fuel from the Tylo lander and refill it when we get to Jool. We can do that because I didn't think of it, and that gives the authority. Yeah, so now we're planning our second Jool encounter, and as you see, it's no 5,000 meters per second we're planning here. It's like, yeah, quarter that, which is very good, because the transfer stage on the Tylo craft has only about 1.5 kilometers per second of delta V. So this actually works almost. It almost works. It works a lot better than I thought it would when I didn't think of it. But first things first. First we need to break Minmus orbit, which is what we're doing now. And we lower our periaps on Kerbin to basically as low as we can get away with. We want to have a few kilometers margin above the atmosphere, but we want to exploit the Opeth effect as much as possible. And now we slow down the game a bit to let it do its calculations as correctly as possible, and then we plan our Jool encounter. Most of which you're not gonna see because I cut it away, because it's just me trying to get the optimal approach with the new mod. Just adding a meter per second there, removing one here, seeing what gives us the best and most efficient approach. So yeah, we save our nodes in the Kerbal alarm clock, very useful. I absolutely love that feature. And it's time to do the first big burn, which is comparatively small to how it used to be. So we test the engines to get an estimate of time, and when we arrive at that time before the node, we see it's not really a favorable place to be to do the burn, so we wait till half the time has passed until the node, and start the burn. And we immediately get an escape, because we have such an eccentric orbit. You only need, I don't know, 50 meters per second to escape Kerbin. So you immediately end up on this escape trajectory, and then you just keep burning while you're flying away from it. And when we get there, we just tweak the orbit, and we're done. Now you see why I brought the fuel tank. Extra fuel. Well, the engine, I brought the engine and the fuel tank, because it's one package. And yeah, this is it with this ship. We extend our solar panels, and now we wait. Goodbye, Kerbin. Probably never see you again. And now we get to the next ship. This is, yeah, it's pretty much just doing the same thing over and over again, but it's oddly satisfying to do it, because we're actually going places, not just preparations. Yeah, it's the same thing with this ship. We see that we need to do the burn halfway, and so we do it. But yeah, as I said, it's nice to do something which isn't preparation. This is the 7th episode, and except for the first one, which was a dual moon mission, We've only done preparations. It's so good to finally be on the road. And this encounter looks a bit glitchy, but it's good enough for me. And suddenly, I remember, we need to prepare for Duna. Yes, so we're launching, and we're launching a fuel tanker, and it's manned with Kerbals. We're launching Kerbals into space for the first time since the first episode. This is truly a groundbreaking episode for the space program. These 3 Kerbals are, well, they're support crew. They're going to man the station. They're going to man Alpha Station. And they're going up in a fuel tanker, because I'm going to send a fuel tanker up there anyway. So yeah, I'm going to let them hitchhike on the way up. We're not going to launch a special ship just to launch a few Kerbals into space. We're sending them on the fuel tanker. Yeah? So yeah, I'm just showing you how this is done. And I'm showing you that we're bringing an extra gizmo on the rear of the ship. Anyone who can guess in comments what that thing is and what its purpose is before I release the next episode, which is probably on Sunday, will get a free internet cookie or something. So, yeah, so we do a rendezvous, and then I'll show you a bit of a trick, which is not very surprising if you've been a watcher for a long time. I separate the crew module, because everything is modular. This crew module is a self-contained spaceship. It doesn't have, capabilities to do anything else except maneuver under RCS, dock, and land with parachutes. But it's basically all you need, because it's hitchhiking on the large fuel lifters. So yeah, we bring these guys in to the Alpha Station, and we dock them. And this could probably be done in IVA, because there's a very good view from inside. And now that that thing's docked, we need to dock the fuel tanker, which you're not gonna see again, because it's just long, boring flight to this docking port, which wasn't really far away to begin with. And yeah, we transfer the fuel out, and I send up a service ship to extract the gizmo, because as far as the tanker is concerned, that's just cargo. We don't need it on that. And now we are launching the crew, actual crew, and they get a similar treatment. We need to send another fuel tanker up there, so they're just gonna hitchhike on that one. And this is the real crew. This is Bill, Jab, and Bob, and these are the guys that are actually going, beyond low Kerbin orbit. But their first stop is still gonna be Alpha Station. I'm going to show you the entire launch sequence here, because, well, it's worth watching. Just bear with me here. So yeah, I do the completely standard approach. There goes the escape tower, standard ascent. So we, try to get a nice rendezvous with our station. There it is. And boosters are out. So we jettison them, and when they're clear, we burn, and whoops! We were not clear. Quickly shut down the other engine. Now the spaceship still works, but it's running on half power, and we only lost one engine, so we still have the same mass, not to mention the 2 orange fuel tanks. Can we make it? Well, the Kerbals are still, they're gonna live anyway. The thing has parachutes. But we don't want to waste a launch, and we don't want to fly across half the world to get these guys. So they better make it work. And the engines run out of fuel mid-flight, so we have to refuel them, because they're not designed. This design is not made to burn its engines for this long during ascent. It's made to fit the bill and do nothing else. And with half power we have to burn it a lot longer. But with 2 refuels we finally get a proper stable orbit, and we're no longer falling into the atmosphere. From here out it's just very tedious orbital maneuvers, because the rendezvous was completely botched up, of course. We missed it completely. But we made it there. We detached the command module, and for some reason we docked the tanker first. And this tanker, as you see, is equipped with modular engines, which is good, because now that we have a damaged engine, we can just replace it and the ship is still fully functional. I must say I'm quite pleased with this whole modular stuff thing. And our crew has arrived, we are ready for the next stage, and this is all we have time for this episode. We'll continue this in the next one. Bye!